Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On today's episode of Jeopardy Through the Times, we have three world-renowned historians joining us to compete. The category today is labor and working class movements from 1877 to 2010. Let's meet our contestants.
Hi everyone, my name is Amaya and I am a history major. My strongest areas are important figures and practically everything regarding labor and working class movements all throughout history.
Hello, I'm Benjamin and I work in the Holocaust Museum in Houston, Texas. I'm a tour guide, so I know a thing or two about labor unions. We will find that out today. Hopefully, I do not embarrass myself on live television.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss Alfred and I'm a history teacher at a high school. And I want to inform all of you about the things I teach my students every single day. And recently we were on the topic of strikes and how they affected labor movements.
Now that we've met our competitors for this episode, let's take a look at our categories.
The categories today are 1877 to 1920, 1921 to 1965, 1966 to 2010, important people, and strikes.
Contestant number 1, please select the first category and point value you'd like to answer.
Let's do important people for 100, please.
This man, despite his name, is not royalty, but he did pave the way for many working-class African Americans.
Who is Martin Luther King Jr.?
That's correct.
Yes, in his All Labor Has Dignity speech, Martin Luther King Jr. uses the speech to highlight how everyone overlooks and essentially undermines the labor of those working in areas that were not considered professional jobs. This idea resulted in Martin Luther King Jr. arguing that all labor should be respected in an equal manner and challenged the idea that specific jobs that were mainly occupied by African Americans excludes them from being considered an American. He essentially paved the way for the working class African Americans as he pressured society to acknowledge their contributions in the workforce and recognize how valuable their work is. Martin Luther King Jr. had one of the most significant contributions to redefining who was considered an American in the workforce, as he included African Americans in this definition, further expanding their opportunities and overall inclusion.
Alrighty, you're up to 100 points. Contestant 2, you're up.
I'll take 1877 to 1920 for 100.
This group was the first labor union ever created.
Who are the Knights of Labor?
That's correct. Now, you said you know a thing or two about labor unions. Tell us something about the Knights of Labor.
The Knights of Labor is one of the first labor organizations in Texas. They went against the wage system and wanted a more socially cooperative system. The long hourly work time got reduced to 8-hour workdays. Child labor was abolished, all thanks to the determination of the Knights of Labor.
Awesome! You've earned yourself 100 points. Contestant 3, take your pick.
I'll go strikes for 200.
This group of workers went on strike in 1981 due to a conflict with the federal government and were ultimately fired by President Ronald Reagan.
Who are the Professional Air Traffic Control Organization?
Or PATCO, yes. You mentioned teaching on strikes. Can you tell us how this conflict started?
Yes, Ronald Reagan, the air traffic controls, and the strike that changed America. This was when over 11,000 professional air traffic controls walked off the job and performed an illegal strike. And President Reagan acted by firing all of them. Many people take this moment as a shift in history toward all labor movements.
Thanks for the information. And with that, you are taking the lead at 200 points. All right, contestant 1, it's back to you.
Okay, I think I'll go with 1921 to 1965 for 500.
Wow, a 500-point question? Remember, folks at home, 500-point questions work differently for this kind of Jeopardy. These questions are open-ended and will be
What do you
reviewed by
personally
our
think
judging
was the
panel
biggest
for their
catalyst for
validity
change
and
in labor
content.
unions
Let's
and the
see your
working class
question.
for this time period?
I believe that the widespread amount of worker resistance and mass strikes was a major catalyst for change in labor unions and the working class from 1921 to 1965. I deem this as the biggest catalyst for change since the mass worker resistance during this time essentially forced the hands of both employers and the government to make a response to said resistance. This is seen through the events of the uprising of 1934, also known as the General Textile Strike of 1934. This uprising consisted of around 400 to 500,000 workers who walked out of their job in protest for better pay and higher quality working conditions and union recognition. Similarly, the Battle of Blair Mountain was a protest among miners fighting for safer working conditions in the mines, as well as union recognition.
And the judges have deemed that that will be well worth the points. You're now up to 600. Let's see what contestant 2 will do.
This was the president who signed
I
into
will
action
take
the National
important
Relations
people
Act.
for 400. Who is Franklin D. Roosevelt?
Correct again. Contestant 2, do you think you could explain to the folks at home what the National Labor Relations Act was and what Roosevelt had to say about it in his signing statement?
The National Labor Relations Act was a New Deal program set by Franklin D. Roosevelt, in which it gave the right to the workers to form unions, to bargain with their employees, creating a new, different form of business. President Roosevelt was hoping to achieve a form of peace in the labor-related industry.
Fascinating. You're now at 500 points, just shy of contestant 1. Contestant
In
3, it's your pick.
2006, janitors in Houston,
go
Texas
big or
went
go
on
home, right?
a month-long
Let's do
strike.
strikes for
How do you think
500.
that this strike affected all workers across the Houston area, and how will we see those effects in future laborers?
The 2026 strike of Houston janitors, with a lot of them being Hispanic and women, were earning about $5.15 an hour. And as well with most of the companies not offering any type of health insurance, when they walked off with the help of SEIU, they weren't just fighting for themselves. The strike shifted a lot and the way people thought about strikes, and it helped them. A woman from the company CGA has had a very rough time navigating her life with breast cancer, and without any type of insurance, she was severely struggling.
You'll get all the points there, bringing you to 700 points. Contestant 1, the ball is back in your court. What will it be?
I'm feeling pretty confident after
This
that last
photo was
one.
submitted
Let's
by
do
Lu Wei Hu
1877
in the
to
Immigration
1920.
Service in 1909 as proof of occupation so he could legally stay in the U.S. despite this act.
What is the Chinese Exclusion Act?
That's right. Man, that photo is really something.
If I may, this shows how the definition of who was considered a working American changed, because during this time, the government placed extremely strict limitations on Chinese immigrants. This act required people such as Li Hua Ho to show proof of their occupation in order to stay in the country.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, contestant number 1. There is such a large impact behind the narrative of that picture. You're now up to 900 points. Great job. Contestant 2, you'll pick next.
Well, I suppose I'll hop on the big points train. I'll take
In 1977, Keister Howard published his book, Revolt of the Sharecroppers.
500.
How does this book and other events in this time period show how labor class Americans could still have power in a lot of movement?
The Southern Tenant Farmers Union demonstrates that in this time period, low-class Americans still had power in labor movements, because during the Great Depression, there was a decrease in crop prices and a mass production of crops. Due to the market being down towards the sharecroppers, they had fought for the rights of the sharecroppers and tenant farmers. They even were able to critique the New Deal Agricultural Adjustment Administration, also known as the AAA, to allow for the farmers to receive equal pay.
And the judges say that your answer is astounding and will be rewarded with the 500 points, leading you to a whopping 1,000 points. Contestant 3, it's your
In
turn.
1938,
Okay, let's
Lester
do
Hunter wrote this
1921 to
poem, which was later
1965 for
turned into a
200.
song that migrant workers sang in California.
What is I'd rather not be on relief?
Yes, that's correct. In the poem, Hunter writes about his family's poor living conditions in the Dust Bowl. Why is that?
Hunter writes about his family's poor living conditions because those exact living conditions are what they needed relief from. And that's why it was so shameful, and also why the Great Depression broke so many people, not just physically, but also mentally.
It's so sad how they lived back then. I'm so glad we were able to pass legislation to raise the minimum wage so families could survive in better conditions. Well, folks at home, as you can see, these historians are very smart. So we have 2 contestants sitting at 900 points and 1 sitting at 1,000. In this form of Jeopardy, when someone hits 1,000 points, we go into our final question for the episode. In this question, contestants will answer the same open-ended question and will be awarded from 0 to 1,000 points from our judges based on how well
The
thought out
question
their
is,
answer is.
throughout the
Contestants,
time
are you
period
ready
of
for your final
1877
question?
to 2010, labor and working class movements contributed crucially to the expansion of economic opportunities and reconstructed the definition of who was considered an American in the workforce. Which social or political factor do you personally think affected these changes the most?
I think that the economic situations that were happening throughout these periods affected changes the most. Without these situations, there would not have been that much change happening, which we have seen throughout these years.
Great job, contestant number 1. Our judges would like to award you with 400 points for your answer.
I believe that labor and working class movements being more recognized and appreciated throughout the years is the reason in which there are economic opportunities and for the reasoning for who is considered American in the workforce.
Really well thought out, contestant number 2. The judges would like to reward you with 700 points for your answer. Nice job.
I think the civil rights movements had the most effect on all of these changes by wanting equality and pushing for laws like civil rights acts. This moment opened so many more doors so they could redefine what the meaning of acceptance in America was.
Wow, contestant number 3. Our judges would like to award you the full 1,000 points. That means you're our winner for tonight.
Oh my gosh, no way. Thank you so much. This is our class pet. His name is Loki, and we would just like to thank all of my students because that is why we're here right now. Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Congratulations to our winner. And we hope you'll tune in for the next episode of Jeopardy Through the Times, where we'll be talking about the Progressive Era. Bye!